You did your job, but don't take over a course which does not belong to you. You submitted that letter to the proper authority line, the ED. I expected the ED, instead of writing back because she's not technical, to give us, say, minutes of your waste management committee, or presenting this in her sort of cabinet, because she has a cabinet, and then you put all these recommendations that you made. Then there are requests for a budget. It goes to the authority. This is now 2014. So now you show processes of ensuring that you are being defeated by the system. It can be actually up to Parliament. So what I expect from you, for purposes of information, your letter, her letter, minutes in those committees, up to this other level. Now, when you're talking about what is happening now, we need this kind of money, you are diverting us from your failure as a system. Oh, you know, there's no way you can fail to get this kind of money. If it's not given to you, we really want to see in documents, not just 2 letters between you and the ED. Because you are not the authority, then if matters are not coming out, you show us minutes of your cabinet talking about this matter. I think that's what we want to get, Honorable Chair. We are being diverted now to issues of sentiments. Now we need money to go to Dundu. What happened in those years? We really want to see documents.
Honorable Swami, partly yes. Part of the game has been asking for money in all their budgets. Remember, we had a meeting and called for their budgetary submissions, meant of this and that. Number 2, why would you still be talking about a landfill when you're grappling with a landfill? I thought you would be talking about processing that garbage into something else. How can you say, because I don't want to take you back into the investor thing of yours, that conundrum, but over the years, for more than 10 years, you're grappling with an issue of investment where you're not even going to put money. Somebody would have thought that with the trigger of his letter, you would carry out those interventions. 1, go do what you called capping. 2, you start dumping in Dundu under normal circumstances, because it was less risky than continuing with Chitezi. I pick one point that even without continuing with the dumping, the landslide was bound to happen, because already the precipitants had been in place. What KCCA ought to have done going forward from this date, or even before, would be to see how to reduce and flatten. You did not flatten. And I think that is where the man-made catastrophe comes in. That's number 1. How much money did you need for flattening? Does KCC have machines on ground which would do part of this job? Dr. Kello?
I'll start with what we did do in terms of the flattening. Part of the daily operations, we were actually doing that. And as we say, the last city. And I would even say that maybe part of the daily operations and activities on site in one way kind of kept the landfill safe, because it had reached a little bit, because it had reached its capacity many years ago. And what you're talking about flattening, the excavators being on site, having new tipping fronts, trying to have new drainage areas, that was what we were doing on a daily to make sure that that place could
land in the neighborhood for purposes of creating more drainage space, because you have already closed this drainage with your garbage.
We actually acquired land.
I know of the 4 acres.
We actually acquired the 4 acres.
Yes, but it's not about the drainage.
What,
the drainage had been closed from your report.
Yes, and by the time it was being closed was because of the movement, the emergency movements. But on a daily basis, we were trying to make sure that those places were actually, the drainage was kept free. We acquired first, the initial expansion was in, I think, in 2013. Then this was the second expansion that was being done when we acquired land of actually 4 acres. We even went ahead and did designs.
For now, Chitez is closed, right?
Chitez is closed.
I remember seeing these people going to Chitez. Was it January, February? January 9th, saying this one is closed. From their perspective, as executive, they closed it. And those are the people for us we deal with. For you, you did not close.
Chair, you can see Chitez was forcefully closed. You can see what we are actually going through now. And even if we had closed it and nobody was dumping, I would still have been here and I've been asked the question that you closed Chitez. What else did you do after closing Chitez?
Now you're answering 2 questions instead of 1.
And that is why I'm saying that if I'd closed it and left it unmanaged.
But you see, if January for 6, 7 months you continue, are you helping the situation or you are exacerbating it?
To me, and again, we are assuming that because of our presence there, we are making things worse, and that may not be the case. If you remember from October last year, we have had more than heavy rains. And if you look at waste, our waste is 85% organic. Now, with the way the landfill being overused and you having heavy rains, organic waste tends to soak water. And that meant that the weight of the waste became heavier than being able to hold on the slopes that it was. So looking at the weather, looking at the overutilization of the landfill, potentially those 2 events may have caused the movement and the fish and
the movement came under your watch. You were watching the movements and the risk was increasing day by day.
And that's why I'm saying, if I'd been given the tools to make sure that doesn't work, because in 2021, we actually did a capping study, and we actually had the amount of $7 million. In 2022, we did a livelihood restoration plan and saying, if you are to close, this is what you need to actually restore people's livelihoods. In 2022, we did a social impact assessment. In other words, all the documents to make sure we could be able to run were actually ready.
Okay, I think what Honorable Swamp is saying...
Don't carry a cross which is not yours. Just submit those documents, and that is it.
Yes,
otherwise you are now carrying...
submit them.
NEMA condemned the place, correct?
NEMA condemned the place.
And we have that condemnation by close of business today.
We also have a response to that later.
And yes, okay, give us NEMA's condemnation and directive. Give us your response by close of business today, right? ED, I think Honorable Swamp was talking about meetings. Did you have any meetings subsequent to
this year? We found that Chitez was used beyond capacity, like I had earlier on communicated. However, 4.1 was still being put to Chitez.
What is 4.1?
4.1 billion. However, when we reached underground, we did not find almost anything going on. And I want to submit what we received from the Directorate of Public Health, the 4.1, how it was being utilized. Chair, I don't know if you have a copy.
Is this
Chitez landfill, yes. I have more copies here.
Yeah, let's pick copies. Yes.
Where we're told that an excavator, excavator 1, where we hire at a daily rate of 2.5. And in a year, that excavator was being hired 365 days, and the total cost was 930 million. Then there was also an excavator 2, which was employed in the rainy season and also in emergencies. And on a daily basis, we needed 2.5 million, and that would be hired for 180 days, and the total cost annually was 458. Steel-wheeled landfill compactor, Chair, as you can see the breakdown given in that document submitted before you. The cost was 4.1 billion, and this wasn't convincing to
It is paid to who now?
to the City Executive Committee. Yes?
No, I mean this money is paid to who?
This money,
Who does this work on ground?
they say there's a private company called Nippon. Is it Nippon?
Nippon, this one of Mengo somewhere there. Or
Yes, that
That's-
one of
okay.
Lumala. Unfortunately, on the ground, most of these equipments that we found were in a very sorry state. And from the submission of Dr. Okello, you could clearly see that it was almost impossible for the land to be leveled because it was used beyond its capacity.
Yeah, because when you are leveling, you must have where to push that garbage from.
So-
if it is already full, where do you push it?
Yes, so we had queries
Yes.
about this 4.1 billion because we didn't see any work that was going on the ground.
I
And
think
that
that's
is,
a value for money issue.
yes.
Would you be able to tell casually by looking at what you find on ground?
Yes,
Would you be able to tell casually by looking at this?
I think you could tell, for example, looking at the equipments that are
That
there.
the equipment is dilapidated and not working?
The equipment is
Yeah.
dilapidated. One of the engineers supposed to be manning that place left, and he left behind a relative. That was also an issue of audit. And as the City Executive Committee Chair, we have been making, or even made a recommendation to the Prime Minister to make sure that there's an investigation and they bring to book or prosecute particular individuals within KCCA who were directly responsible.
Why didn't you consider an audit?
That was
You'll be
one of
having a technical document.
that was one of our recommendations in the City Executive Committee. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of this committee.
Okay.
How there's money which is not, which really does not make
Colleagues, I'm
sense.
coming to open the floor. I'm just introducing.
And
colleagues.
maybe further information to this committee is that from the technical team, we are told to decommission Chitezi. 26 billion was required. And as they have stated, only 4.1 billion is what has been allocated to KCCA annually to specifically deal with the issue of Chitezi. And then to have a recycling plant, the modern recycling plant in Dundu, we are told we required 190 billion.
Is it 190 billion the ED suggested? Was it 135 from the letter?
No, the acres are the ones that are 135.
Oh, it's the
That's
land.
the land.
No, I'm reading. The letter says in 2, investment requirement at Dundu. The capital cost of the envisaged solid waste treatment facility and sanitary landfill is Uganda shillings 235.5 billion.
Oh, I think it has since even increased.
Isn't that the figure quoted in here? Yes. The one to PSST of 20th June.
So the figure moved from 190 billion to 235 billion.
Wait just a minute. Yes.
Management meeting chaired by the ministers, there was a criteria that was agreed on. One, we need land which leaves at least 500 meters as a buffer zone so that we don't have a repeat of destruction of homes. So that meant that we need a minimum of 200 acres.
Okay. What is that land for?
The land is to provide for an alternative landfill as we move towards waste to energy plant.
How long does it take you to get that plant?
The plant,
To put the plant in place and make it operational?
it has been estimated that from beginning to end would be 2.5 years, that's what you said?
2.5.
From beginning to end.
So
18 months to 24 months.
18 to 24. Okay. Members, let me see where we will start from this side. Honorable Itungo, Honorable Chiwanuka, Honorable Kabulindi, Honorable Nkunyinji.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you look at the main root cause of the problem is where there is a problem of practice versus the law. And I want to find out from the Deputy Road Mayor, your visit of January, when you came up with the report, did you give that report or the copy of the report to the ED to appreciate what was on the ground? Then number two, the letter which doctor was reading, you don't have a copy. When did you get a chance to look at that copy as the road mayor, as far as the situation is concerned? Then finally, because of time, you have a legal person here, because the ED was saying that by not giving a copy, she's not doing it in bad faith, but she's saying it is a practice. I now want to know from the legal person, because they may say, going forward, Parliament has directed us to change the practice, to give copies, and we don't want to do that. So I wanted to hear from the legal person about the KCCA Act on communication or correspondences. Is it a practice that you don't give copies, or the Act says otherwise? So that we try to cure this. Otherwise, my assumption is that if the ED saw the report of the road mayor team that visited the scene, and also if the ED went for a retreat with the president, but the road mayor side has seen the copy of the doctor, the recommendation of the doctor, maybe something would have been done. So I want two clarifications about the report, whether the political wing gave the report, the copy of the report, and when the political wing got the information on the doctor's report, and then the opinion of the legal person on the correspondences. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I suggest members we get questions at once, then we shall get the replies at once.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chiwanuka.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, as we halted our report writing for purposes of meeting KCCA, there is something which was asked and it did not get an answer. It is going to be very, very crucial.
What is that?
I asked to know whether there was an invitation for bids for people to participate in the provision, in the waste management and in the electricity generation. I did not get a specific answer whether there was whether there was a call, whether it was the procurement procedures we have. I did not know how many people participated in that. I did not get an answer.
ED, that is your question. It's direct to you.
And two,
have you
for
noted
ED, when you look at these expenses here for the 4.1 billion per year, I think we can get excavators and a brand new excavators at 300 million, 400 million. Is it okay for us to continue renting? And we spend for only 1 year, we spend 930. Yet we can acquire around 3 excavators out of this money. I don't get it. And lastly,
Yes, please.
to the minister. You see, now we went into a problem. This catastrophe befell us. And you are the minister for Kampala Metropolitan. That is the greater Kampala, Mukono area, Mpigi area. Isn't it okay for you now to start planning that we don't need waste to cross Kampala from the western part of Kampala? You should think, don't you think of creating a waste management plant in Mpigi area to manage those areas?
Okay.
Yes, even if Mpigi, even if even if it's Mukono, if Olugazi, or for the whole country, so that because all the cities, Honorable Minister, Guru is suffering the same problem. Mbale is suffering the same problem. All the cities in Uganda are suffering this. Do you have any plan? A plan for does NRM government has any plan for the waste management in this country?
Okay, it's noted by the minister, Honorable Bakabulindi.
Chair, so disappointed. I expected KCCA to work as a team for the good of the country. What I'm getting here as figures, I don't know if they are correct or not, and that's where I'm going to base my questions. The Deputy Red Mayor gave us the figures here of an excavator at a rate of 2.549 per day for 365 days. And at the end of the day, after this problem moved on Kitezi, you are saying the thing was dead, not working.
You are not going.
I wanted to know, in KCC, who is in charge of monitoring the value for money to see if this machine was working or not? And secondly, what is the cost of the excavator, the brand new? If KCCA had wanted to buy one. No, I will get the question answers from the technical people from the other side.
If you are done,
And no.
let's try to
And
summarize, members.
The second question, or third, how was this excavator procured? If it is hiring, was it an open to whoever has got so that you come to this figure? If it is true that this is what they have been paying per day, and majority of the days it was dead. Lastly, could it have been the cause of that landslide or not?
Honorable Mwada.
Thank you, Chair. Chair,